Hey, welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddart, and I am more than excited today to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, leadership. It is the principle by which all things either rise or fall. And I have with me today someone who comes so highly recommended from someone near and dear to me, Brock Worthen, managing partner of KW Pasadena and KW Commercial. First of all, let me start before I go into your bio, Brock, by just saying thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me. It's been a little bit of a struggle getting our calendars to align because I know you're super booked with a lot of your daily tasks and interviews and meetings that you take, and obviously I have a pretty tough schedule. But I'm so glad. I've been excited about really connecting with you and having some time to share with you and your audience. So thanks again for having me, Justin. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Well, you're a perfect fit. Again, my mission with Think Bigger Real Estate is to help agents grow themselves so that their business will follow suit, knowing that as their business grows, they'll have a better life and more impact. And so you're a perfect person for my audience to really hear from. So for those who don't know Brock, let me give a little background on him. Again, as I mentioned, he's a managing partner of KW Pasadena and KW Commercial Pasadena. He owns Blueprint Real Estate Group, which will do about $55 million in volume this year. Brock's been in the business for 16 years. His office will do $840 million in volume this year. They've got the third largest commercial division in all of KW as far as agents go, fourth largest in volume, and typically kind of bounces back between number one and number two in those areas. So that's some background on Brock. So running a very successful organization, I should say very successful organizations, leadership is something that's obviously something that he's studied and learned and implemented at a high level. And before we get into the business talk, Brock, I know you and I are probably most passionate about talking about leadership in the home. Why don't we go there first? Because that'll probably light us up more than anything else. I know you're a father. And just for those of you who weren't privy to the conversation I had with Brock prior to this, the way that he spoke about time with his kids would make you very endeared to this man. He's very sincere in his desire to be a great father. So Brock, talk to us about leadership in the home. What does that look like for you?
I think leadership in the home is really, I think it's important for us to listen to our children, listen to our spouses. It's easy to want to respond based on emotions, given the situation. And one of the areas that I've really been working on in my growth is having grace in the home and having grace, being a grace-based parent. Yeah. And I think a lot of that is not being so reactionary and really just pausing and allowing our children to, quite frankly, teach us a lot of things. I think with kids, we all realize how kids are fearless, right? They take risks, they take chances, and it seems as kids become adults, that some of those are more guarded. And I think one of the things for me in the home and just being a really intentional dad is just listening, observing my kids be fearless and be themselves. And my goal is to really pour into them so that, the areas that they're starting to exhibit curiosity around, that I'm encouraging them just to do the best that they can do, and not really try to, push them in areas where I feel like they're stronger or where I feel like they would thrive. So I think being present, you and I spoke offline about this, but it's important for me not to trade time for money, because it's easy for us, or a lot of us, to look at opportunities and we look at the financial reward, but the time that we have is so limited, not just as parents with, sort of this ability to control our kids because they're in our household, but really in life in general. I mean, I think about this often, that we don't, we're not paying mortgage on our time here. We're really just renting. And that time goes by so fast. And I just want to make sure that I'm as impactful and as present with my kids as possible. And so that's really been a really big part of the emphasis that I've been able to hone in on, and to make sure that, the grace is important, and also just to help be supportive with my kids in every area as possible.
Your lesson there reminded me of the late Stephen Covey and what he taught about humans and our ability to not just lead, but just to be better humans, that there's a space between stimulus and response. So let's say our kid drops and breaks something, right? And if we can expand that space between stimulus, like how we respond and what just happened, that oftentimes we can more intentionally blueprint, if you will, kind of using your company name, how it is that we want to respond. I know for me, sometimes something like that will happen and my knee-jerk reaction won't be the friendliest response. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I love how you said just to pause, wait, and think about what would be in the best overall situation for helping this child learn, right? To help them become their best person, which is way more difficult than it is to talk about. But I love how you said that. It's caused a lot of reflection on how I parent. So good stuff.
Well, it's something that I do daily is journal. And I've been creating these books for my children, the Book of Cade, which is my son's name, and the Book of Tatum, which is my daughter's name. And it's just journaling their life through my eyes. And when you said reflection, it's something that I do daily. After my prayer time, I reflect and I journal about experiences that I've had shared with my wife. Taken a next level to this journaling, and I'm now including photos along with what I'm journaling, so that down the road these children of ours will be able to look back and have memories through my lens. So hearing you say reflection is also something that resonates with me, just because it's something that I really try to do as much as I possibly can.
Powerful stuff, man. I know you and I are aligned in the fact that where our leadership needs to show up the most is in the home. And I would say probably where America is deficient of leadership, and a lot of times is in the home. That's where it all begins, right?
Absolutely.
So thank you for taking some time to share that. I know that wasn't on script, not that anything is, but let's delve into business leadership and just leadership in general. Yeah. Obviously, you've built multiple really powerhouse organizations, one that serve the clients and their real estate needs, as well as a brokerage that serves agents and their needs. What are some key principles that an agent can take away from today's conversation, implement in their day in life? They'll help them be better leaders, either to attract talent and or to retain talent. What are some thoughts on leadership?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to be somebody that has a reputation of developing others, getting results, because people are going to do what they see, right? They're going to model the behaviors that they see of those that are successful around them. So first and foremost, you have to have results in your world, so that others are wanting to follow you. I think another thing that's important in leadership is being likable. If you're not likable, if you're not fun to be around, it's going to be very hard to attract the right people, right? So you're going to attract those that are very much similar to you. And I think one of the things that I'm proud that I feel like I've been able to do well is that I truly like people. I really enjoy connection, human to human connectivity, and serving. Serving's another very common thread in leadership. You have to have that servant heart, and putting others before you is important. And if you're not able to do that, and look, I'm not saying that those that have that me mentality aren't good people, but just from a standpoint of leading others, you have to really have that wherewithal to be able to put others first. And listening is a skill that it needs work, and it's something that I've been developing for a long time, is really listening to others. I feel, when I was in my earlier, years of developing my leadership skills, it was difficult for me to remember people's names. I'd oftentimes after meeting them would forget. And I learned a little system that I do that helps me retain and remember people's names. And I think that people appreciate that because it makes them feel like you heard them and that they're important. And we've heard this many times before. And I'm sure you know this, Justin, that everybody has this sign around their neck, and its significance. Some have a very small sign, some have a very large sign. People want to feel significant. They want to feel that they're important and that you notice them. So I feel that's a big part of being a successful leader is being able to listen, observe, and to guide people to results and to help them.
Man, tons of great info here. Let's unpack this a little bit. First of all, before I forget, how long would it take you to teach us your trick on remembering people's names? Is that something you can whip out pretty quick? Because I would find a ton of value in that myself.
Yeah, honestly, it's something that's super simple. But upon meeting somebody for the first time and they introduce themselves, like if you were introducing yourself to me, Justin, it was Justin, right?
Yep.
I'm kidding. I would say your name 5 times in my head to myself. That way I'm hearing myself repeat your name over and over 5 times. And it's something that's simple. It works, but it's like anything, like you're purposeful about it. You're going to, do this because you know that by doing this, that it's going to leave an impression. It's going to make people feel important. And that's part of, my goal behind that is just, I want people to feel that, that connection. People are going to listen to you, Justin, because they like you, but they're going to work with you and follow you because they trust you. And part of building trust is being able to, to have that, instant connection and to make people feel like they matter. So that's just something that I've been working on for years. And I'm nowhere near mastery of that, but I feel that my growth in that area of just remembering people's names has been a big part of just building instant rapport.
Mm-hmm. You said some things about having people like you and trust you. I think, part of the design behind Think Bigger Real Estate, you find countless tactics that you can do to grow a business. And oftentimes agents that are really struggling in their business go from one tactic to the next, when in actuality, I don't think it's the tactic. I think it's the person needs to grow so that they can truly implement that tactic, whatever tactic they want, consistently over time to be able to produce the results. But the person themselves, we ourselves need to grow and need to continually grow. And it sounds like that's a big part of your regiment routine is to grow you as a person. Both, I heard you talk about a kind of a faith-based routine, as well as I would imagine a pretty robust one in just educating yourself regularly on how to be a better person, how to better serve people. Can you let us in a little bit on what that personal growth plan looks like for you, which I believe is at the core of any leadership, right? Leadership is influence, the ability to persuade and influence people to do something. And like you said, they aren't going to want to follow you if, number one, they don't like you, number two, they don't trust you, or if you can't produce results for them. So talk to us a little bit about how Brock grows himself so that people will want to follow.
Well, I'll tell you, one of my biggest influences in my personal development has been John Maxwell, and I know he's at the top of many people's people of influence. And he once shared that the Bible is actually the greatest leadership book ever written. And something from an area of my life that I've been growing both personally and spiritually is just being able to dive in, to the Word, and just having time in the morning, being grateful for all that I have, and understanding also that I'm super flawed and broken, and knowing that just having belief in whatever higher power people have, it's important to have that in your world. And But as far as growth, I mean, you have to have discipline. I have daily rituals, rhythms that I do that I think that align with my development. And I get up early. I get up at 4:25 daily. I have time to myself and do the morning rituals that I do. And I think that, by having that daily discipline and taking care of your body and taking care of your mind and being able to give gratitude and journal and all those things, these are all really important rhythms to develop and maintain. But also you have to, when you think about successful people, and John, Maxwell had said this, when you think about successful people versus successful leaders, successful people know, how to position themselves, whereas successful leaders know how to position other people so that they're going to get the best version of themselves. And I think as a leader, one thing that I'm always striving to do is get the greatest out of you. Like, how can I pull the greatest potential out of Justin or whomever it is? Because for me, that's what fuels me and fills my tank, is like being able to say, you know what, I believe in you. And I believe in you so much, I'm going to show you the greatness that resides in you. And so I think it's hard for people to want to put others first and to not think about themselves. And it's and that's why, and I'm not saying I'm a great leader, but I'm just saying an area that I continue to work on and want to grow in is finding that, that space inside people that sparks them and helping that rise to the surface and allowing the greatness to come out in whatever area of their life that they're seeking. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
yeah, it does. I've one of my mentors taught me recently that the faster that you can not be the only who in your business, the greater and faster you'll have success. And I think sometimes people know that, and so they start adding leverage in their business, but it ends up being a little bit of a revolving door, because I think they're missing some of the principles that you talked about here of how to actually grow yourself. And then I love how you said that it then becomes, how do I position the other person? And I know when you're, and kind of who you are and your reputation is, you're someone that has success, finds success through other people. And you're on this journey, not just to see how much you can produce, but how much you can help other people produce as well. It's powerful. It's great stuff.
I think it's important to be able to leave your mark, leave our mark on others. We hear all the time, we can't take it with us, but what we can do is know that, we've done all we can to touch other lives and to think of others and to remove ourselves from the equation and know that we're doing his work. And as long as I can realize that, I'm really flawed but I'm aware of that. John talks about law of awareness and knowing, our flaws, but being able to recognize and then spend time on it and grow, hoping that you're also, by growing, in the areas where you're deficient, you're also growing others where maybe where they're deficient. So I just think, personal development, leadership is a journey, and it's one that you have to work on daily. If you're going to be really good at it, you're going to have to spend time in it. So it's just something that I continue to, I want to impress upon my children to be great leaders, and in their school and on their teams that they, soccer team and softball and all these things that, looking at others and how you can help them and remove yourself from the equation.
Yeah, going back, I don't mean to overquote Stephen Covey, but it reminds me of, like we go from dependence to interdependence, right? Where we start where we raise our sights beyond our own success and start to really find significance through the success of other people.
Love that.
Good stuff, man.
Well articulated. I love that, Justin.
Yeah, just quoting a legend. That's all. So, man, I want to thank you so much for these lessons. I'm sure that there are people that are listening to this. I know my audience is definitely growing outside of the Portland market, and I would imagine they have people that want to move to sunny Pasadena.
Yes.
So I would imagine that Blueprint Real Estate Group would be able to serve people that are coming down there. I'm going to put up here Brock's contact info here.
And we really serve greater LA. I mean, Pasadena is about 12 miles from downtown Los Angeles. So we really cover the whole metro LA area.
Nice.
Yeah. So think of us in your Southern California metro LA areas. And I appreciate that, Justin.
Yeah. And I would encourage you to find Brock on social media. I've been inspired by just what he shares, the man that he is at home and at work. He's truly inspiring success and significance in other people. So again, a perfect fit for the mission that I have here at Think Bigger Real Estate, to surround this audience with people like you, so that people like you rub off on us. So it's been a pleasure, Brock. I want to thank you for your time and the value that you've poured in to the audience today. It's been awesome.
Well, hey, Justin, thank you so much. And before we let go and sign off, I wanted to congratulate you and your wife for 15 years.
That's and right.
Beautiful kids. Today's your wedding anniversary for 15 kids, or for 15 years, not 15 kids.
That would be crazy.
That's pretty special. And I feel honored that you took today to allow me to be with you and your audience on a big day for you and your wife. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Being around people like you helps me to show up back at home as a better husband, better father. So thanks again for your time. And thanks again, everybody, for tuning into today's episode. And appreciate it.
Take care, you guys.